Hey everybody, this is John Iadarola, the Damage Report. Quick little informal video. I'm currently actually down in the valley in Texas for the weekend. But when I saw the news this morning, I felt like I had to come on and say something because, like a lot of you and like a lot of people around the world, the news that broke this morning seems incredibly suspicious, and that is that Jeffrey Epstein, who is obviously facing a number of different charges for sex trafficking and rape and a number of other things, was somehow found dead of suicide over the night. I believe his body was found at 7:30 in the morning. He had hung himself. Now, that is, of course, suspicious for a number of different reasons. But I do want to throw back to just like less than a month ago. You might recall that back then he had apparently hit his head or something like that. I think that he claimed that he had been assaulted, but it seemed like it might have been a case where he had tried to kill himself. But in any event, when that happened, we covered it on the Damage Report, and we said at the time that it is incredibly suspicious that this person, who is both, he was a flight risk before he was imprisoned, he was a suicide risk as soon as he got in, that he's just interacting with people and stuff can happen to him, and nobody's watching, nobody knows. Incredibly bizarre. And we said at the time, they have got to watch him every single minute. If you're not going to have an actual guard watching, you obviously have to have a camera on him. And after that, he was technically on suicide watch. And yet, somehow it happened, and I guess he just killed himself, and nobody could intervene, nobody could do anything. He was just left in that cell with sheets that he could remove, and there was something he could hang it on so he could hang himself. And the thing is, I try to avoid any sort of conspiratorial thinking, but reasonable people from a lot of different sides are wondering how this was allowed to happen. That seems to be the consensus at this point. I know Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she had a message up saying that we demand answers. I don't even know at this point if there was a video camera. If there was not, I mean, there has got to be a massive investigation. But in any event, it's not difficult to understand why this happened and why this happened when it did. Just a day or two ago, we had that huge cache of documents linking even more powerful individuals from effectively across the political spectrum to Jeffrey Epstein and the crimes that he committed. And now this happens. And look, I know that already on Twitter, the Clinton body count is trending. I get that. I try to avoid going through my life assuming that the Clintons have killed literally everyone who dies. But there were a number of different people who did not want him to, reveal what he knew. Both stuff that could have supplemented what was in those documents, but also exactly what was going on when he got that sweetheart deal a decade ago. What was going on with Acosta? Was there communications with him? Who was putting pressure on them? Those sorts of things. And now, I guess maybe we'll never know. Sort of convenient for all the powerful people who've been interacting with him for literally decades and did not want their name to pop up. He could have revealed a lot. I mean, who knows at this point if he would have. We can't go so far as to say that he definitely would have revealed information, but he didn't want to spend his life in jail. It's possible that he would have implicated a lot of incredibly powerful people, both Democrats and Republicans, former presidents as well as current presidents. And now, suspiciously, we may never know what he had, what actually happened back then. And yeah, so I'm looking at your comments as I'm recording this, and I see, allowed to happen or made to happen. I mean, look, who the hell knows? I would say that, look, if we were going to begin to speculate, I would say it's a lot easier to assume that if pressure was put on people, it was put on people to not watch him, to allow him to do something, because it's not impossible to assume that he would have committed suicide. I think that that's a lot easier to imagine than that, someone had killed him or anything like that. I mean, that involves more people, direct action. That's really complicated. And at this point, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that we need to know everything that we can know. And so, were there cameras? Were there cameras in the hallway leading up to it? Can we see if anyone was in the area? Can we talk to people who were nearby to see if they heard any noises? I mean, I don't believe that he was in solitary confinement. I don't believe that he was in an incredibly remote part of the prison. So somebody should have heard or seen something. Perhaps there are people that can attest to what his state of mind had been. But anyway, look, no matter what happens, no matter what we find out, what we will not find out is a justifiable explanation as to why he was allowed to be alone. Assuming that he did this, the idea that he was not being watched every single minute, considering how powerful he is, the nature of his crimes, the nature of his past attempts to kill himself or had been assaulted or whatever, Anyway, it's just sad that we predicted this. I mean, on the damage report, I think it might have been JR. Like, we saw this coming, and we warned them at the time. Of course, we have no power to actually, make good on our warnings, but we knew what was going to happen. I mean, look, throw a thumbs up if you saw this happening like a month ago. No justice. But we know that there's going to be no justice, but the form that no justice comes in is very different depending on who the person is. If you're poor, you will get no justice if you're in the criminal justice system. If you're powerful when you get in there, maybe it won't last that long. The entire thing is just so goddamn frustrating. And honestly, I was hoping that when I came down to within arm's length at all times for Suicide Watch, I don't know the nature of Suicide Watch, but I would assume that one important part of it is watching, at the very least. Preferably not allowing it to happen, but certainly watching. Anyway, I was hoping when I came down to Texas for the weekend I would be able to avoid crazy news, but no, not this particular time. Anyway, I wish that I had more to tell you. I know that some responsible people, like I said, AOC was already tweeting about it, are going to put pressure on the government to find out what was happening. Hopefully we will have some answers, but I am not at all hopeful that we will ever really know what happened. And even if we do, again, I mean, the job's done. Like, he's out of the way. That's the whole thing. Whether it was just because he didn't want to go to jail or because he knew something, incredibly frustrating. Okay, everybody, thank you for tuning in. A little impromptu video. I expect that there probably will not be any more live videos from Texas, but hey, you never know what happens in America. Thanks, guys. Bye. Oh, by the way, super fast note. If you are not a subscriber, you probably aren't watching this video, but if you are, that's good. If you're not, feel free to subscribe. If you are, there's the bell thing, to get notifications. YouTube is a complete mess, and so if you want to watch content on this show, don't expect that just because you subscribe to it that you will actually know when we upload videos. You're going to want to hit that bell to get notifications. That's really your only chance of knowing when we have something. But again, thank you, everybody, and I'll see you soon.